As the spotlight on counting cars grew brighter, so did the pressures behind the scenes. Danny, the Count Koker, once a relatively private figure within the niche world of custom restorations, found himself managing not only a high-profile television show, but also a business rapidly expanding beyond its original intent. Count's Customs, once a modest operation centered around creativity and craftsmanship, was now a brand with international recognition and massive expectations. The attention brought by television fame had its benefits, including a surge in clientele and opportunities for merchandise, endorsements, and appearances. But fame is a double-edged sword. The day-to-day challenges of running a busy custom shop, once managed with relative ease, became magnified under the lens of public scrutiny and rising demand. Danny, who had always emphasized passion over profit, began to struggle with balancing the artistic integrity of his work with the growing financial responsibilities of a media-fueled business. He still maintained his philosophy of doing the work he loved, often prioritizing creativity over monetary gain. But behind the scenes, the cost of this approach was becoming increasingly apparent. Friends and colleagues described him as a perfectionist, someone who couldn't sleep at night if a car left the shop anything short of spectacular. This level of dedication, while admirable, began to clash with the commercial demands of a high-volume enterprise, and the strain began to show. Legal and internal conflicts added to the stress. The lawsuit against Joseph Frontier in 2015 wasn't just a blip. It was a deeply personal betrayal that cut into the trust Danny had placed in his tight-knit team. Frontier, who had handled finances, was accused of embezzling over $75,000 from the company, a case that forced Danny to reassess the internal controls of his business. The scandal, though publicly addressed, rattled the crew and challenged the previously unshakable image of camaraderie and loyalty portrayed on screen. In interviews, Danny appeared composed, but close sources later revealed that the ordeal shook him deeply, forcing him to take a more hands-on approach to every aspect of the operation. As tensions mounted within the shop, rumors began to swirl regarding the show's sudden end in 2021. Some attributed it to burnout, others to mounting financial difficulties that had started to bubble beneath the surface. There were whispers in the Vegas custom scene that Count's Customs was facing debt, a result of Danny's tendency to prioritize artistry over bottom-line results. These rumors were never publicly confirmed, but the sudden conclusion of a show that had once been a cornerstone of the History Channel's programming raised eyebrows. For fans, the abrupt end felt like an unfinished story. For Danny, it may have been a necessary retreat, a way to recenter, refocus, and protect the essence of what had started it all, a deep personal love for cars. Despite the turbulence, Danny remained a beloved figure in the automotive world. His sincerity, authenticity, and unapologetic devotion to custom work continued to earn him respect. Though Counting Cars was no longer airing new episodes, Danny's influence lived on through the cars he built and the legacy of Count's Customs, which still operated in Las Vegas, serving as a pilgrimage site for fans and gearheads alike. Visitors to the shop often noted that Danny was sometimes still there, bandana and all, immersed in a project, sleeves rolled up, working as he always had. Not for the fame or fortune, but because he simply couldn't imagine life any other way. The complexities behind the scenes at Count's Customs came more sharply into view, so too did the realization that fame, for all its glittering advantages, can sometimes obscure critical operational issues. The allegations against Joseph Frontier served as a wake-up call, not just for Danny Koker, but for anyone watching the rapid transformation of a humble custom shop into a national sensation. Frontier allegedly used corporate funds for personal gain, including extravagant expenses such as airline tickets, and even the purchase of a luxury Range Rover. Though Danny wasn't personally implicated in the lawsuit, the situation cast a long shadow over the shop's internal operations. With high-value restoration projects constantly in progress, and a growing list of celebrity clients and corporate partnerships, lapses in oversight became a serious liability. The lawsuit, which estimated the financial loss in the tens of thousands of dollars, reflected the increasing disconnect between Danny's hands-on, passion-driven philosophy and the hard financial realities of running a booming business in the public eye. Despite keeping his public response minimal, the incident forced a reevaluation of how things were being managed behind the scenes. More troubling, It coincided with rising whispers about delayed payments to parts suppliers and unresolved disputes with clients over project deadlines and costs. The Las Vegas Review-Journal reported that a few disgruntled customers had come forward, citing communication issues and broken promises, complaints that didn't align with the image of precision and integrity portrayed on Counting Cars. These revelations began to cast doubt on the seamless image projected by the show, leading many to wonder whether the demands of reality TV were compromising the very standards Danny built his reputation on. As ratings soared and the schedule tightened to meet weekly air dates, it became increasingly clear that the process of filming restorations for television was exerting pressure on the quality of the final products. Viewers, many of whom were car enthusiasts themselves, started noticing inconsistencies. On forums like carcomplaints.com and Reddit threads dedicated to auto restoration, fans discussed visible flaws, rushed builds, and discrepancies between the on-screen timelines and the real-world complexity such work demanded. Projects that would traditionally take months were portrayed as completed in just a few days, fueling suspicions that some of the drama and success stories had been manipulated for entertainment value. While this kind of showbiz editing is common, in reality television, it felt like a betrayal to longtime fans who had come to Count's Kustoms for authenticity. One of the more visible impacts of this pressure was the unexplained departure of key team members. The absence of Scott Jones, the shop's former manager who handled much of the day-to-day business operations, was particularly jarring. He had been a familiar face on Counting Cars for several seasons, known for his candid demeanor and logistical role in the shop's inner workings. His sudden exit from the show led to widespread speculation about internal tensions, with many suggesting that the strain of balancing TV production with the real demands of the business had taken its toll on team morale. Though Danny downplayed these changes in interviews, his statement to the Sun of Las Vegas, "It's difficult, but I'll always prioritize the cars, since to me, this is my life, not just a show," spoke volumes about the internal tug-of-war between artistic integrity and showbiz obligations. Despite the chaos, Danny continued to push forward, investing in ventures that reflected his broader passions. Count's vamped rock bar and grill emerged as a hub for music lovers in Las Vegas, attracting both locals and tourists with its classic rock ambiance and live performances. It wasn't just a business, it was a manifestation of Danny's musical roots and a space where he could reconnect with his audience outside the confines of scripted episodes. His band, Count 77, served a similar function. Though not a chart-topping act, the group allowed Danny to explore his creative side and connect with fans on a different wavelength. Music offered a therapeutic outlet, far removed from the mounting pressures of television production and corporate management. Meanwhile, Count's Kustoms itself continued to operate, albeit more quietly. The shop appeared to scale back its media presence and became more cautious with its projects. Recent clients have noted that there is now a greater emphasis on transparency, timelines, and realistic expectations, changes that suggest the business had absorbed some hard-earned lessons from its turbulent years in the spotlight. The once flashy operation is now marked by a more grounded approach, one that values client trust and sustainable practices over the rapid-fire production of viral content. Still, speculation continues. Despite a lack of concrete proof, rumors about ongoing financial troubles and internal friction persist in industry circles. However, Danny's public stance has remained unwavering. He is still in love with his work and committed to preserving the soul of Count's Kustoms. Whether he will lean further into music, entertainment, or remain anchored in automotive restoration remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: Danny Koker has no plans of disappearing. His name is now etched into the culture of American custom cars and reality television alike, a reminder of the complexities that arise when creativity collides with fame. For now, he seems content managing his passions in quieter, more deliberate ways, never losing sight of the cars that started it all. Danny the Count Koker rose to fame through Counting Cars, turning his Las Vegas shop Count's Kustoms into a global brand with his rock and roll flair and unmatched custom car designs. But behind the roaring engines and TV glamour, things weren't always smooth. From a lawsuit involving an employee accused of embezzlement to rumors of internal conflicts and financial struggles, Danny faced real challenges. As the show grew, so did the pressure, raising questions about rushed builds and scripted drama. Yet, Danny stayed true to his passion. juggling his shop, music with his band Count 77, and his rock bar Vamped. Through it all, one thing's clear. Cars aren't just his job, they're his life.